Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Colorado Springs post-Comic-Con recap, and I'm going to fill you in on some of the stuff that I did, some of the stuff that happened at the show. I'm going to be working on a sketch from my website. People have been buying stuff off my website again, so that's great. Overall, sketches, every variant cover, Helena, whatever. But when I was in Colorado Springs, I was able to get some signed by the cover artist, John Lucas. He traveled up with us, and not with me, but traveled up and met us at the show. And it was great seeing him. I hadn't seen him in a few years. We talked back and forth on social media, but it's good to see him in person. Saw some other artists there. This book that Jason Reitman wrote, actually had David Finch sign it for me. He actually came over to my booth. A friend of mine asked if he wanted to come by. Had Howard sign a couple of books. And I have my met Bart Sears for the first time. That was cool. And these are the comics. I was stuck for an extra day because my flight got canceled. So I actually went into town and picked up some local comics, which was cool, at a store downtown. And the store's name was, I'm blanking on it, but they had a whole section of local comics, which was great. I posted pictures of being at the store. I did some sketches for them, which was fun. I posted the pictures on Instagram. Should be here. Escape Velocity Comics. That's what it is. They were downtown. And these were the two local comics I picked up. This looks really cool. I mean, just the colors, the words. I mean, definitely looks very indie, but I dug the color. I dug the artwork. So I'm looking forward to reading it. And then this was another one that was there. I haven't read it yet, but very, manga influence, but beautiful looking stuff. Couldn't leave it there. So I picked those up. And I got to walk around town and do all sorts of, tourist type things. The order that was placed on my store asked for a tick sketch with their convention at home box. So, and generally how I do these smaller sketches is I'll do two next to each other and I will cut them into pieces. I'll cut them apart, I'll split them. It takes me less time to do them that way, I feel. And I just try to come up with like a fun little joke. And came up with two ideas of the tick at the beach and the tick playing poker. Hey, Uncle Bill. Good to see you. Colorado Springs on Saturday, like it was just slammed. There were just so many people. It was a very busy day. Friday and Saturday were both busy. Sunday, Sundays it shows. For me, it wasn't busy on Sunday, but St. Pierre, who was right next to me, was slammed on Sunday. So, maybe everybody that saw my stuff that wanted to get something from me popped in on Saturday or Friday. Yeah, I sold out of all of my Tick comics and all of my Iron Face at the show. Like, you can only bring so many in your suitcase, but it was good. I love when books are selling with the artwork and stuff because it's getting the work out there. I got to see all sorts of people that I haven't seen in a little while. I saw Howard Chaykin, talked to him for a little while. Like I said, I talked to David Finch for a bit. That was very, very nice fellow. Um, and I saw John, I saw Joe St. Pierre, I saw all kinds of stuff. The long trip home, yes. I'm holding up okay. I did not set an alarm this morning, so that's a rarity for me. I'm usually up around, 6:37. The trip back, I was fine during the entire, like my flight got canceled and then I was in Colorado Springs for the day. So I made the best of it by traveling around and checking stuff out. But it was when, I got to the airport and I knew there was a layover and that was fine. So I was drawn at the bar and I did a sketch for the bartender because he liked comics. He said his favorite character was Spider-Man. So I drew him a Spider-Man. And then when we got on the plane, okay, I'll try to fix it. You can let me know if that's better. I'm not sure if it is, but that's the only way I know how to fix it or kind of fix it. And it's funny when I do the streams, the only places where I have issues is on Facebook. Super IT skills, the turn it on and turn it off and turn it back on again skill. I have that, I suppose. It really just is on Facebook, which is weird. Um, but Colorado Springs overall, the show was good. It was, I did the new Zodiacs cover that did well, which the regular version is in comic book stores today, and the cover I did's pin up in the back of the regular version, which was nice of Joe to do. Um, any of those cover left? I was given 10 copies, and I have some. So if you would like one, I'll have some. And for the folks that aren't like close by and can pay me with a beer, I'll have them on my website this week. And a couple of the sketch covers I didn't sell. Some of them did, some of them didn't. A lot of people wanted like a custom drawing, which was fine. Made more work for me, but it's worth it. But like the Sandman sketch cover didn't sell, and then I did a Red Sonja while I was on the way there that didn't sell, which was surprising because last year like I couldn't pump out the Red Sonja sketches fast enough. And I did a really fun Iron Face. Iron Face was the hit of the show for me this year. Like it sold out. And all the copies I brought with me, they went to new homes and people wanted stuff signed, which was good. And at that show, you were able to get the book, even though Campana wasn't able to make it because of some personal stuff going on. You were able to get it signed by myself, St. Pierre, and John Lucas, which was cool. And like I said earlier in the stream, since the audio was messed up, I got some signed by John. So I didn't see that. No, that's cool. Here's what I got signed by David Finch, and Jason Reitman gave me this book a long time ago. He wrote this story. I hope it's good. Maybe it'll if it's good, it'll get people to check out the comics. Maybe people like things in that genre again. Did you have a good weekend? Did I miss anything super important in the area? Yeah, I got to be honest. I don't keep up with the what's filming and what's not. I'm terrible at it. I'm sure if anything I ever worked on was filming, I would be like, oh, look at that. But yeah, even the Red Sonja comics I brought, I mean, I was delighted, but my based on my numbers, my book Helena outsold my Red Sonja comics this year, which, like I said, it was strange, but welcome. That Iron Face and Red Helena both did well at the show. And I have friends out there now. I've been there that so often that people there come to see me like a regular, and they kind of assume that I'm a regular there or that I live nearby. But just because I've done the show every year since it started. I hope so. I got to get my next issue done. I was telling people I just got the script for. Well, it's not even a script. I got the original story that DP, the creator of Iron Face, wrote when he was a kid. That we're gonna do the next Iron Face book of. I just every time, every show I'm at, there's at least one person that has the same reaction to that book that I had when I first read the script, and it was just that like it was so weird and funny and like a personal thing. And it just someone falls in love with that character at like every show. Yeah, when I was coming in for a landing, we had that wonderful sensation for a person who doesn't like flying and myself of watching lightning go sideways as you're flying through the planes, flying through the clouds on the plane. Camille said it was just a torrential downpour. Did you have any damage from the water? Hey, Daryl. Thanks, man. Yeah, good chatting with you. It was that AI art discussion was lengthy at the show, and everybody was talking about it. And there's some more news that hasn't come out yet that will come out. Um, it's an interesting time to have to adapt as an artist again. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And it's also that I think one of the things that I don't know if anybody else is talking. They're most of the people were talking about what they can do to speed up and compete with the AI art because if you were to just for one of them, and I'm not going to say the name of it, if you just said Magnolia graveyard scene, it spits you out a Magnolia graveyard scene that is believable. And um, I think it's important to do the things that no matter what the AI can't do. And that's why like when I go places, I do sketches for people. I try to be an ambassador. I try to talk about it, be encouraging. From the minute I got up at 3:30 in the morning, yesterday till I got on the plane, I mean, until I got off the plane, I was talking to people who all knew someone who liked to draw, who all knew had a kid, had a family member, had a friend who wanted to draw, and they were looking to find ways to support them. And you know, AI can do a lot of things, and but it's not a person that you're talking to. So I think hearing from a person that art is important and that there's all these resources out there. And I did the making comics panel again, and this time I did it with John, and I thought it was just it's regularly my favorite thing. Like there's some behind the scenes stuff that happened before the panel, but once we got on the stage and everything, it was great. It was terrific. Yeah, and I'll fill people in on more of that discussion as we go along. The AI art discussion is an important one going on right now, because I really think it's going to come down to whether or not people want to buy it, because corporations and business people in general do not have a good they have a long and disgusting record of discovering unregulated and cheap labor options. That's the nicest way I can say it. I mean, it's a horrendous history, and it's just one that is just all too familiar to people. So you know, it happened in comics, like back in the '70s. When artists were threatening to unionize, they even had meetings. Like what's his name? Neil Adams was there, and Ralph Reese was there. They had meetings to start a union for comic book artists, and it didn't get off the ground. But the companies were reaching out to artists in other countries who had less expensive page rates. And in the case of some of them became some of my favorite artists, because I love Rudy Nebrez's work. I do 100%. And but part of the reason they went looking in those places was to get cheaper labor. They found phenomenal artisans. Like it was Tony De Zuniga who was like kind of the door opener for a lot of the Filipino guys, like Alcala, Ernie Chan. Um, I never met Tony De Zuniga. No, no, I did not. I met Rudy a couple times, and who else did I meet? I met Alex Nino, another just brilliant artist. And it's going to come down to whether or not people buy the books, because they're already being made. Like they're already being made. So let's just put it in those terms. Like they're going to trot out a whole bunch of AI drawn comic books. So however you want to think in those terms, it's going to be up to the consumers to accept or reject them. And I think when it comes to the print comics, there's going to be some resistance, but when it comes to like the DC Comics webtoons, situations like that with like the Batman book they're doing on there, I don't know what the digital comics readership is going to determine is worth, like what their preferred delivery is, if they grow attached to the artists or if they're just in it for the characters. Because I tend to find that most people follow the characters over the artists. I'm the opposite way, and I actually have been for most of my life. But yeah, this is actually a sketch for somebody that ordered my Con at Home box. And you have three choices for sketches because they're all ones that I like drawing and they don't take me very long. Hey, Ruben. Yeah, it definitely was. It was a long road back, and I'm glad to be back on the ground. And I was actually just about to talk about my experience with CBCS there. They do not pay me. They do not. I am not, an affiliated advertiser with them. I would just say that they treated me very well, and for the first time, I got some of my own comic books graded. I submitted them to CBCS with like for the signature labels. I was working with a fella named Cody, and he's one of their reps. And I would say he was very kind and informative and did a terrific job uh, selling me on the idea of offering these books to people. So, like in the future, if somebody wants a sketch of mine, I can submit it to CBCS directly. So, like, I have to come up with a price, like a pricing for what that would cost you guys, but I can send it directly and I can witness my own signatures and my own sketches. And like, let's say I'm going to go see Joe St. Pierre or someone else that worked on one of my books at a show, I can serve as the witness for any of those options as well. I have no, I'm new at this, so I'm giving it a try, and I'm going to find out from CBCS what fair rates are for such services, and we'll give it a try. They were super nice, and I know that they're popular. While I am not a collector of graded comics, I understand that they are really popular and people really like them. So, and people have asked me in the past, like if I can submit things for grading for them. So now the answer will be yes, I can. It's just going to take me a little while to get those options built into my website. So if I do another variant cover in the future, you can get it from me as is, or I'll be able to submit it. I can't promise any sort of grades in advance because I don't. Again, I'm new to this. I used to grade comics a long time ago, back when it was like good, very good, um, very fine, fine, near mint, gem mint. Like when it was fine plus, like back when you used to look it up in a price guide. But it's a whole new world. And I've got a couple more sketch covers that'll be going on the website tomorrow. Believe it or not, this is the same brand of snorkel that I used to go snorkeling with. Overall, it was a good show. It was a good show. Got to see friends. Got to meet a few creators I hadn't met before. See people I hadn't seen. I had dinner with my buddy John Lucas, Keith Williams, and AC Canales, a local artist in Colorado Springs. They did. They absolutely did. They are giving me a quicker turnaround than if I were just submitting them through the website. So with the creator account, yeah, that's one of the things that they tagged on there for me to sweeten the deal, to hook me in, to give them some money. And actually, funny story, Ruben. I forgot to remark one of the comics for you, and I went over to the booth on Sunday, and he was able to just pull it out, and I did the remark right there. I was like, I think I forgot to draw on that thing. I think I just signed him. Yes, it is double witnessed. And I actually, I've started this year charging for witness signatures, and for the cost of the signature, I charge $5, and I donate that money to a local food bank wherever the show is. If I'm here, it goes to the Greater Boston Food Bank, but in Colorado Springs, they have a place called the Care and Share Food Bank, and we raised $65 for the Care and Share Food Bank, and I'll be posting the receipt for that tomorrow. But this is a sketch for that. Yeah, Ian's convention at home option box. You get a whole bunch. You get all the new stuff. You get a whole bunch of variant covers I've done. You get basically it's like the if you were at a show I was at, you'd be able to get like all the new stuff. And that, like I always mention, the shipping's included in the price of everything that I post on there. Shipping, handling, packaging, all that stuff. I try to. I try to be, I just, it's like I was talking about, it's something that we can do that AI making art can't do. Like we can be kind, we can make people's day. Like anytime I've just offered and done, like I did for that sketch for that bartender at the airport, I could tell he was just thrilled. He's like, I'm gonna hang this in my living room. I'm gonna tell all my friends. I can understand, being cranky at the airport, things can be tough, but like, I did sketches for them. I did sketches for every store I went to on the day before yesterday, and it's a nice thing to do if you're able to do it. And I had time. I was able to do it, and I hope that especially with folks that maybe haven't been to a comic store, haven't bought a comic. I met so many people where, and this is a phenomenon at Colorado Springs. Every year I meet people who have never been to comic shows at all at that show. And in my eyes, I don't know what the numbers are, but it looks like it grows every year, with new people coming in. Every year from that, Colorado Springs is like an hour ride from Denver, and I flew into Denver. And usually they pair up the artists to ride together for whatever reason, so it's easier for us to chat about. But this year I was paired up with one of the celebrities to ride back from the airport, and it was the lady, nice lady, the lady who played Aunt Beru in the new Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi show. I guess she was in the original movies or the episodes 1, 2, and 3. She was nice. We mostly talked about where we came from and just normal chit chat. And at one point, she mentioned that it was like her first show since the new Star Wars show came out. And yeah, that's her. Yeah, Bonnie. She was very nice. Um, but I did my comics duty at one point during the conversation, and I feel like maybe I um, put too much faith in myself for this, but Howard Chaykin was at the show, and I know that the death of Owen and Beru is shown in the original comics. So like the first person ever, and the comics actually came out before the movie Star Wars. Okay. And so the first person ever to introduce that character to the world visually was at the show. So at one point during the conversation, I just mentioned it to her that like, hey, this guy's here. If you ever wanted to walk around Artist Alley and meet anybody and see someone, this would be a person because it's directly related to your character and bringing them, to the public eye. Lucas picked Chaykin personally based on his Cody Starbuck work. And she's politely said, yeah, I should have time to walk around. I have no idea if she did. But I felt like it was my duty to point out to, because we had talked, she didn't really know like what it was like being an artist at a show. So I told her about the drawing and the sketching and what we did, and we carried our own carried our own comics and stuff to the table to sell, um, and then we wished each other well, good luck at the show. I told her that because it was her first show and she's in this big Star Wars production, that I'm sure that she would be busy and etc etc. And she had asked me at one point if I had seen Obi-Wan Kenobi. And in that moment, I decided to maintain my integrity and not lie about having Disney Plus. I do not have Disney Plus, I said. I'm sorry. I had seen, the other films that she was in, but I have not seen Obi-Wan. But I think that she was kind of bummed about that. But I really didn't mean any offense. I just don't have Disney Plus. And I did tell her that like all my friends that I've talked to so far have liked that show quite a bit. So, but yeah, I touched down on Thursday, got my bag. They had a very nice lady help us get to once we got to the baggage claim, they had a nice lady get us to the car, and off we went. She was cool. And I saw O'Halloran, Jeff Anderson. I saw, I said hello to them just because, I see Brian more times a year than I see my parents, which is weird to think about. That came to mind. But yeah, she was very nice, and I felt it was my comics duty to point out that the person who introduced her character visually to the world, was there. So if I'm ever in a ride with someone who is comics related as far as their acting and stuff goes, I don't assume that they know or read the comic books. Now, had I assumed that with the folks I met from the Tick show, I would have been wrong, because Griffin Newman read and knew the comics as well as anybody, and so did the guy who played Ramses. Um, I was shocked. They came to the booth and were talking, B plot devices from Tick's Tick issues that weren't by Ben Edlund. You know, But people, appreciated my work, appreciated that I came there. And, I had that similar thing that has happened, and it's funny. Who was it? It was Jeremy Clark. He's an inker. He was telling me how much he enjoyed my ink wash stuff, and then I had other people telling me how much they like my watercolor stuff, and I have other people telling me. So, it's interesting when you get feedback like that, where it's like, oh, everybody seems to like a different thing. So that was another interesting thing that pops up. I try to do the art to fit the character of the story. So, other celebrity witness witness sightings. I talked to what's his name, the guy that played Darth Vader for a little while. He was in the suit for Rogue One. Spencer Wilding. He was nice. Um, and I saw pretty much everybody that was a guest there, but I didn't really talk to many of them because I was busy talking to my own pals and other artists. And Pat Broderick was there. It's always lovely to see he and his wife, Pat Broderick. For those that don't know, they're both named Pat, and they're lovely people. Oh, shoot. Gonna have to white out. I hadn't seen her in anything else, Jonathan. I'd only seen her in those Lucas Star Wars prequels. Um, and I had asked her like, "Oh, do you do any stage acting? Is it just for films?" And she had said that it was just for films. And um, I don't know. I just try to be polite, and I don't know if I have the ability to be charming in my life anymore, but I can at least be genuine and kind, and you know. And I met so many people while I was out walking around, walking about, because when I'm out by myself exploring and stuff, I'm always asking like all the locals like where the best places to eat are, places that I need to check out. You know, it was actually Steve Siegel, the writer, co-creator of Big Hero 6, that told me to check out Escape Velocity. And he recommended the restaurant I ate later that day. So both places were great. And yes, that's Rubber Ducky, the character. And what can I say? People were psyched. They wanted more Tick comics. Like I don't know what to tell people anymore. Like Jeff and I have done pitch after pitch, and we've put together, not just story ideas, but marketing and done all that. And I'll do one follow up again tomorrow. And let them know how Colorado went. But Jeff McClellan, the writer, and I have some other stories we want to do with the Tick and not with the Tick. We have some of our own characters that we want to work on. So in this case, they're ones that he really came up with. So I'm just the art bot in 2000 AD terms. Did I buy anything? No, I really didn't buy anything other than those two indie books that I picked up. Um, when I'm out in places like that, I tend to buy purely local creator stuff unless there's artwork. Like those are kind of the two things that I buy now when I'm at conventions. Wrong pen. And there was plenty of artwork to be had. John Lucas had some great pages for sale. Joe had some great stuff. Pat had some great pre-done pieces. Howard had a huge pile of stuff from Midnight of the Soul. He had stuff from Hey Kids Comics. He had pages, and he doesn't do sequential pages in the traditional way anymore. He does those chunks of pages. Like he'll draw a few figures on a board and then scan it in. And EC doesn't know what to do with their characters like DC in it. It's true. No, I mean, I and it's not a singular story, unfortunately. It's like basically every creative team that has ever worked on them. The only problem is that Jeff and I have refused to quit, and I think they've just basically been like, these guys again. Whenever I do a sketch of either the Tick or the Ninja Turtles, I always try to make sure I get at least one hand in there because it's one of the things I need to constantly practice. And in the end, I do these drawings for other people, but I need to get something out of it, even if it's just study time. And to be honest, I know that Jeff and I have like talked about it till we were blue in the face. So as the saying goes. I even just for yucks told one super Tick fan about, and I haven't told anybody about it. I just said, you know what, I'm going to tell you because he was just devastated that there wasn't like any new Tick stuff lately. I mean, there are readers who have been with them since, this guy had been reading the Tick since 1986. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to fill you in on at least what Jeff and I pitched. I have no idea if it's going anywhere, but I have to tell someone about this story because it's really good. And he just was so broken up about the whole thing. And yeah, he was impressed with the idea. So my buddy Kevin also gave me this. It's a collection of the New Gods. Not sure where my circle template is, so we're gonna have to I think we're gonna have to wing it. Oh, maybe this will work. Perfect. Alright. Need a little white out a couple of spots because I smudged it. All right, there's the first one. And I like to do these sketches in batches of 2. Um, but that one is done. And now, because I see so many sketches that are attributed to someone else, I write on the back. Should we work on the next one? Should we do that? I was thinking about the tick playing cards, maybe. We got 4 people in here. If you guys want to call it a night, I wouldn't blame you. But if we want to press on, start noodling. We'll see how it looks. One of the other things I do when I do these two up sketches, like I'll do like two Ninja Turtles, or I'll do two shots of the Tick, or two Red Sonjas, or whatever, and then I split them. Is I always make sure that I have different angles for the head to draw, and the different parts of the character are showing. So it challenges me to do something different for both of them. Then you have to draw hands holding cards, which not easy to do. Someday I'll, when NEC finally tells me to take a hike, I'll have a couple of beers, pop on, and I will talk about NEC as a publisher. Either that, or I should sell the story to Bleeding Cool or somebody. And actually, I've been trying to turn it into a positive. Douglas, it would be one of those things that I don't think we would be alone, because everyone I've talked to. But am trying to turn it into a positive thing with Undersea Hero. My humor book that I've been working on is I've also been talking to other people who worked on the Tick, and if they have like a story that went unmade, that they would love to do. Um, I'd love to pay them to turn that into an Undersea Hero story. Yes, I pay people to make things for me. Yeah, yeah, just the tip of the iceberg, my friend. I actually think it'd be funnier if he was holding the last card like as if it was gross or something. Well, and some of the artists that we had lined up for the pitch that we put together, like for cover artists, we're talking about people who have sold millions of comic books. It's not, and that's a quantifiable number. That's not an exaggeration. That were willing to do a cover for us, for Jeff and I. Let me clarify. So absolutely, there's no other way for the Tick to hold cards. That's the joke. Ew, do I need all five? And then that fifth is for a straight flush. So, that's the joke. It's a dumb joke, but that's what I'm here for. For these sketches, I sell them so cheaply, I can't justify spending more than, an hour on them. And sometimes I actually, and my wife gets mad at me. I'll spend like 4 hours on it if I'm trying to get it right. But I mean, it's the hope that when I'm old and I'm eating dog food sandwiches, that if I have to set up a GoFundMe for a can of Chef Boyardee, that somebody will come through because I was nice that one time. I did them a cool sketch. Now, the hardest part of this drawing is the hands because they have to be expressive and they still have to look right. So that's where I've kind of painted myself in the corner here, proverbially. She's not watching anyway. It's fine. That's the magic of art, Douglas. It's the magic of art. I don't know which is funnier, grimace face with a line or just tongue sticking out. These are really just kind of like more roughed out dummy sketches than finished art. And it comes from having like experiential drawing in my head. Like I've drawn this and I link it up with that before. And I have some expensive comic books, so it'll, there'll be a little ways where I can sell some of my belongings for at least gas station sandwiches before the Chef Boyardee situation. These lines here, it's just to show where the middle of the card is so that when I put what's on the card, it makes sense. Yeah, I want him to be like annoyed and then kind of disgusted at the new card. Like, ew, what is this? Upscale sandwiches. I mean, from a gas station? Is that a thing? I thought that was the old joke. Although I will say, when I was in San Diego, there was a burrito place at a gas station that was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But it was more like a lunch counter. I'm just joking around. But I do have to keep working out. But hey, you said I'm handsome, so thank you. Do they have fancy sandwiches at those at those? Like I've gotten iced coffee from Cumbies plenty of times. It's nice. 99 cents any size, and it's surprisingly good. Get a little bit of eraser dust stuck in my brush. Yeah, I would try it, man. I would absolutely. I would be happy to. I hope I'm at the next year's show. I don't know. Well, those breakfast sandwiches, Jonathan, are a tradition. If anybody who rides with me to a convention, I make the fancy ass breakfast sandwiches and put them in the tin foil, and we head on down the road. Because I know that anytime you know, I have to go to a comic convention, especially if it's someone who's not a comic creator. But I used to make them for Jay too, like when he would pick me up and we would go to, whether it was Boston or any a smaller show together. Get up, make the egg sandwich. It could have bacon or sausage. It's got to have tomato, avocado, nice over medium egg. I know it's the ass crack of dawn. I'm sorry, egg sandwich. You gonna go to Troy City? What is it, next weekend or the following weekend? I did have an appalling. Oh yeah, the show went good. The show went good. I sold out of Iron Face, sold out of Tick stuff, sold more Helena than Red Sonja, sold artwork. It was a good show. That's fair. Stuff was selling. I did more sketches than I took pictures of because like someone would come and I'd forget to take a picture of it as they grabbed it. But it was a good show, I gotta say. Um, it is, yeah. It was really nice. It was a really nice. The Iron Face sold out quick. I ran out of Iron Face like before the end of day Saturday. Like, and I packed more Red Sonja this year because they sold out last year. I was like, okay, people are gonna buy this here. But no, it was. I wish I had brought like a whole case of Iron Face because I had people asking for it, Sunday. So I did tell him I have them on my website for sale. And, I even got a full figure commission of Iron Face. I think that's the first time that's happened. I do. I think that's the first time someone came to a show and said, I want an Iron Face drawing, for me at least. I've had people buy them that were pre done, but I definitely had not had someone come with the explicit purpose of getting an Iron Face sketch for me, which was a good feeling. And I actually had more people with the Helena thing because I always offer a deal. I use the Red Sonja comics to try to push my Helena comics. So I make like a combo where like the Red Sonja book costs 10 and the Helena book costs 6 by itself. But if you get them both, I sell them to you for 12. And usually that helps move it because people that like Red Sonja, there's a chance that they'll like Helena just because it's fantasy. I'd say the characters are different, but if you just care that it's a lady with a sword or an axe, then, And I had people who actually had ordered it from the website just asking how the next issue was coming along. And tons of people, I always talk about the streaming. Tons of people always are interested in the stream, like talking about it. And I always tell them it's free. We talk about, art stuff. We go over how I draw stuff. You can watch me finish pictures. Yeah, and I would keep doing it because it's been a really good marketing tool. And I'm able to write off purchasing those Red Sonja books, and it's part of the advertising. I would get a similar fantasy book in the future and do a similar thing if they offer different stuff. Like I know that Conan is going to um, the company over in England that does the my mind's blanking, even though I've talked to the editors 3 or 4 times. It's the company that does the Blade Runner comics and stuff. They are getting the Conan license, and if they offered custom covers, I would pay a ludicrous amount of money to do that because that's like one of the few comics that it has been mainstream, but it's on an indie publisher again, so there's a chance that I would get to draw something for it, and it's a bucket list character for me. Titan, yep, that's the one. That is the one. And I've talked to their editors a few times. Actually, at San Diego, I sat down with one of them, and he went through my portfolio and was a nice fellow. He basically was like, "We have such a small line that, like, just bug us once in a while, and if we have something, we'll let you know." Uh, Still haven't cracked that nut yet, obviously, but oh, I want to tell you, Douglas, you will get a kick out of this story as well. This was one thing that actually my neighbor Joe looked at me because he thinks I was probably too harsh about my response to a question at the show, and it was a fan who came up who was a big Tick fan, and he was talking to Joe for a while, and they were chatting about just comics in general, and he came over to me, and I kid you not, I kid you not, he said, "Wouldn't you love it if the Tick was in the MCU?" And I paused for a second and I said, "Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That would be horrible. I would not want that in any stretch of the imagination." And, Joe looked at me because I normally will just be like, "Oh, well, whatever you think." But it was such an appalling thought of like, because I even asked him, I was like, "Well, what do you like about it?" the Tick? Just that he's like this funny blue goofy guy, or do you like that he's independent and if he was allowed to by the editorial, he could really say something about the entire industry and the genre itself because it's not beholden to anyone. I was like, it was offensive to me, this question, and he might see this and it might bother him again, but like it was so like the corporate thing that is Disney getting its teeth into the Tick was just such a bad idea to me. And I kid you not, Doug, Joe St. Pierre, who's like the most also very quiet, mild-mannered fella, he just looked at me and he had this look on his face. And then when we got back to the hotel, because we were splitting a room, he was like, "Dude, you probably crushed that guy's spirit." And I was like, "I'm sorry. It was just like the most of it was just such a bad idea." And it took everything for me to be like even and I wasn't impolite. It was just I was just, "No, that's a bad idea." Thanks. Uh, I just I didn't know what to say to the guy. And he, we chatted for a little bit and I told him why and he wasn't I don't think he was offended or anything, but it was just like it wasn't even a negative interaction in any way. Like it was just a matter of fact disagreement of opinion. But I just kept thinking about all those homogenized uh things that come out of Disney, and while I know that the ticket it has its setbacks, I just think that it has because of its and I've told George this that because of what he is and what he's done and with Ben and everything else that like it has the potential to do a lot because of its independence and its reach. Like there's so much potential there. Like the things it could say about the industry, about what the industry does wrong, and about what the genre gets right and wrong. Like it just has so much there. Like there it is. But yeah, Joe was kind of like offended that I kind of crushed that guy's dream of having me affirm his "Wouldn't you love to see the Tick in the MCU" take. Yes. Yep. Wouldn't it be great if more stuff was exactly the same? I totally agree, Doug. These are both. Hey, Brian, good to see you. No worries. Well, they have everything, and like, isn't Howard the Duck supposed to be that like, commenter of what they're already putting out? Like, don't they have that mechanism built in, and they don't use it? Like, I think if they ever got it, they would just flaunt it once, just to maintain trademark, and then put it away and never use it again. Like, what was that character from the '90s? Killjoy? That was supposed to be like the funny slapstick. That was it. Slapstick. They bring him back once every 20 years to maintain the trademark. But Brian, yeah, thanks for popping in. These are not commissions. These are I sell convention at home packages on my website, and it comes with a sketch. And the person who just ordered one got a tick sketch, and I do these 6x9 sketches in pairs to get them done quicker, and to make sure that I'm not drawing the same thing over and over again. You're 100% right, Doug, and they're afraid of the risk of continuing to do something that has already made a freaking $1 billion and that the audience absolutely adores. Like, it's not broke, but they're still trying to fix it. You know, if it was broke, it wouldn't have made a gajillion dollars. Or if it was broke, I mean. See, I knew you would get the the reference on having rubber ducky there. Wouldn't it be great if Wu-Tang Clan played with Taylor Swift? No, it would not. There we go. Give Brian the spotlight with the rubber ducky inflatable. Sorry, Jonathan, I'll get you on the next pop in. I should have gotten you for the Titan comment. One of the if you want to call it like Tick universe, important storylines that I drew was the origin story of Rubber Ducky. So I actually got to, while it was created by Sean Wong, they did not really give a full origin story until only a few years ago that Jeff wrote and I drew. Because we were doing the story where Rubber Ducky gets married, and actually it was funny, like the issue where I actually show them getting married is was done because we had shown the proposal, or Jeff had shown the proposal, I think in an issue Dwayne drew, and like it never was going to pay off. Like they weren't going to continue that story. They had done so many one-offs that they'd ignored any sort of continuity because they seem to think that having, you know, ignoring continuity makes it more accessible. So but yeah, in my Con at Home boxes, you get a whole bunch of variant covers. You get all my new creator-owned work. You get rare stuff from the archive. You get stuff that I just don't schlep around to shows anymore. But like I've seen people flipping them on eBay. Um, programs that I throw in bonuses like programs that I've done cover work for, and all kinds of stuff. Yep, absolutely. This is just paper that I split. This is just Bristol board, and I do them two up on these 9x12s because when I finish them, I split them in half. I'll just use a razor blade and cut them in half, and then for shipping them, I can just put them in like a regular bag and board. They fit, in one of these, and then I can put them in a mailer. You never know, Brian. Like, Vic might offer to trade you like the rarest thing in his collection for the rarest thing in your collection, and you guys can just sort of like share it. You can pass it back and forth. Because the only thing in my collection that you guys don't have is just the artwork. You guys have like every book ever, so. But soon, NEC the Tick is going to have to compete with Undersea Hero. Let me tell you, there is a palpable, measurable demand for that type of story. And if NEC is not going to fill that void in the public's appetite, I will. Funny, silly superhero stories that say something about the genre and can say something about the industry in a not dated way, I think is important. I think that voice is important. And whether people give me the credibility or faith in my storytelling to let me be that person, you know, I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. Okay, we can't just put them in order, can we? I think, well, maybe for visual storytelling, we have to. It really is. It is. Comedy is really hard, though. It's really easy to, I think it's more, I think readers are more forgiving of like mushy, mediocre adventure stories than they are like badly done comedy. I don't know if it's harder, but it's definitely hard. And it's like there has to be some edge to it. Like, I don't know, like you can be as clever as you want and have the best pun ever devised, but like people can tell when it's like manufactured phony. Well, maybe I have too much faith because like there are people that watch like awful comedy television shows that I don't find funny at all and think they're hilarious. So maybe I'm just wrong. And I tend to think that poker is played like at a table in the dark. His hand is actually this hand is ahead of the table, like he's just drawn it. So we'll put a little bit of a cast shadow over the top of that. And let's go like this. Yes, the Con at Home box is just designed like for people who can't go to Comic Cons. Like you can get a sketch, you can get all the new stuff. And I put all the new stuff up there, individually, which you can. Yeah, I would agree with that. Like you said, I should go to a local stand up and just watch. I've gone to them in Jamaica Plain and just I've seen people just bomb terribly, and it's a rough sight. Yeah, there was a bar I used to go to that would have comedy like just before they would begin the evening with comedy, so people are still not, fairly sober. I think that hurt some of the comedians. There's some really funny guys that I met there, though. I'm trying to think of some of the names of the guys I met. And I like that some of the jokes had like a local flavor. They would be about Boston and stuff going on in Boston, and at the time they were making fun of like Charlie Baker or what was that guy's name that they would just talk about the city and towny folk, and it was good. It was relatable for the local crowds. I don't know if it would translate to like a mass audience, but one of my favorite quotes from a New Orleans musician before he went on, and I'll never forget it. It was, "If you can't make it here, don't leave." I thought that was a great quote. Like, if you can't make it here, don't leave. I don't believe I have a blade or scissors here, so we're coming close to the end, which is good. We got both of them done. I mean, look at this. This is like record timing. And these are my $35 sketch tier. So if you're wondering what that looks like, this is what those look like. If I were doing this for a book, or if I had more time, I would put silly stuff in the pot, like a watch, and it would be Arthur's watch. Like there'd be the back of Arthur's watch. It would be like to Arthur from Dad. Let's put that in there. Let's. It's 9:43. We can draw the back of a watch. Of course, now with phones, like are expensive watches even a thing? I don't know. I'm dating myself as a creator here. All right, I'll take that. Watches are still a thing with the young people. Okay. I'm going to take that as a win. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I don't think I have any scissors or anything. Well, I'll just draw a line. That way you can see where the end point is. I think I'd give you your money's worth for 35 bucks. Those poker tables are kind of fuzzy, so let's give it just like a little bit of texture. Gotta fill that part in. I think this is the only spot for me left to sign. I didn't leave much room, so. I also add, like, if I draw the tick or if I draw Red Sonja, that I worked on the book. see how it came out. Came out okay. I think I gotta fix his chin a little bit. Oh, hey Dave, how you doing, man? You popped in just at the end of the stream. We just finished up these two drawings. You've been talking about Colorado Springs Comic Con, and I told him how Iron Face sold out. All the Iron Face comics I brought with me. I saved one and sent it in to be graded, but man, Iron Face crushed it on every level. And I had someone come and ask for a commission of Iron Face. Dave, if anybody doesn't know, um, Dave is commenting from YouTube, and he is the producer. He's the adaptive author. He is the guy that made the Iron Face ship go. So, but man, it was such a great show for the character. I'm excited that we're talking about doing something more, and people are just thrilled. I'm actually going to get a big banner, like my Tick one made of Iron Face. So when I'm at shows, it'll be there. I couldn't have, if I had brought 20 more copies, we'd have sold all 20 of them. People were just, once I told them about the character, they were just thrilled. But yeah, we should chat this week, and I've got no major shows until either Baltimore or Rhode Island. So if I'm in Baltimore, that's a great show. I'll let people know if I'm able to finally secure my table this week. I'll give them another call. I already have a place to stay, so all I need is the table. But thank you everyone for hanging out tonight, and it was a great show. It was Colorado Springs is a comic friendly place, so if you're ever out there, they have like 7 comic book stores out there. I only went to 2 of them. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I've got a lot of fun stuff to work on coming up, and I hope to see you all next Wednesday. Same time, same place, and hopefully I'm working on some stuff that's going to be published next week. I've got to get some sign-offs on it. If I'm able to, I'll be working on that on the stream. So I hope everyone has a lovely night, and I'll see you next week. Good night.